Hello friends, I made this for. As promised, here's episode 2 of my 3-part series about Saturn 2012. Everybody's most fun thing, besides maybe Pluto, which will be another series probably. Yes, my friends, it is time to talk about what sign Saturn is in. So, last video, and I will link that in the description box down below. Last video we talked and unboxed the pure joy that is Saturn. And I say that sarcastically because a lot of people, like I said, they judge Saturn when really it ain't here to be judged. Neither are you. Believe in yourself. So, now that we've talked about Saturn, and to kind of do a quick recap, Saturn is a reminder that the limits do exist, right? But within the limits, we can create our own world. It's basically just the rules that the game has created that we utilize to manifest, to do our personal internal work, and a lot of that work is in our purpose. It's in our service in this lifetime. It's not necessarily a bad or a good thing. It's contraction. It's not ease all the time. The growth can come with a certain level of ease. It is that contraction of giving birth. So, since we've talked about what this old buddy of mine is all about, and its sign in the tarot, what we can relate it back to and unpack that, let's talk about Capricorn. Because if there ever was a sign that got as much shade, I think, as Saturn, it's of course the sign that is associated and connected to this planet, Capricorn. Or as my teacher, Kathleen, daughter of one, said, Capricorn, which I'm all about. So this is the constellation of Capricorn. And one of the phrases that even this deck uses, this is the Living Wheel deck, what they associate with this sign is the phrase, I use. Obviously, to a lot of us in the woo-woo space, that might really come off as problematic, because if there was anything more capitalistic in design or thought or feeling, it's the concept of I use. It's the concept of using without consideration for the next step. What if we run out, right? We live on a planet of finite resources, and when you just drill for oil endlessly, obviously, we run into a problem. There's a scenario we need to unpack. And so I feel like capitalism and Capricorn have really been unduly added together. So once again, I'm a Capricorn. My ruling planet is Saturn, and that's based on my chart, not just my sun sign. It's based on all my planets in my chart that all siphon into Saturn. So yeah, I got some beef with how everyone fucking talks about it. This is my best friend. Don't be mean to my best friend. So let's unpack my best friend. And of course, we're going to unpack Capricorn in my favorite way. Today's decks are the 8th House Tarot, the Smith-Waite Tarot, and of course, y'all know this bitch, the Tarot, the Wild Unknown Tarot. Whoops. Don't know anything. Anyway, here I am trying to tell you things. I know nothing. Welcome to my channel. So, endless void I plan to talk to. Let's unpack Capricorn in the tarot. Capricorn in the tarot is the devil. I know. This is another reason why a lot of people hate on Capricorn, I think. But let's unpack again. Disrupt your narratives, right? There are no good or bad signs. There are no good or bad cards. And the devil is actually a really great reminder of that. Because the devil is the first card in the last row of the major arcana. So we start off the rebirthing process with this card. The last part of the spiral is the rebirth spiral, right? Life, death, second row, and then rebirth. Of course, a lot of this is, or that ideology is from my other teacher, Tarot for the Wild Soul. Check out that podcast. Get into all the things that she does. She's the bomb.com. So, what exactly are we to unpack from the devil? Well, like most cards that have negative connotations, it's not actually what you think. It is, in fact, a contraction. Because if this is the rebirth line of the major arcana, and of course the major arcana is broken up into 3 different lines, like I said, the life, death, and rebirth. So it's all one spiral. It's all the fool's journey. It's all about this discovery of self, taking the leap off the ledge, as the fool does, into the wild unknown. So what does this mean? There's a lot to unpack here. And trust me, I have definitely struggled with this card. When I first got into tarot, I was really convinced that the devil was reflective of being addicted to your phone or just tied to addiction in general, which, though it can be, it shouldn't be exclusive. If you were to pull this card and that came up for you, then I would say yes, that is what that card means in that moment, because if it intuitively speaks to you on that level, and that's how I feel tarot works, is that you should embody that and like put it through your sieve, you know? You need to run it through your filter, and if that resonates, great. If it doesn't, like most things, if it doesn't resonate, if it doesn't sit with you right, if it doesn't even feel like that to you, then throw it out the window because it means nothing. So let's talk about what the devil is rather than just what it's not, because it's not a lot of things. It's not a sign that someone is after you. It's not a sign that bad things are coming your way or even that you're a bad person. Which, let me just be clear, I don't like the ideology that says good or bad, right? Gone over that already. Those conceptions, even the idea of high and low vibration, I'm not sure if I really buy into that fully anymore, just because it doesn't resonate with me. I don't feel like the world is as simple as that or as complex as that can make things to be. So, off my soapbox and back to this thing. The devil is not a sign that Capricorn is restrictive. Yes, there's a contraction because there's a deep understanding of who we are and what our needs are, right? So what do I mean? We see 2 people are being tied to the devil. The devil is looking over these 2 people who are tied up and cannot go anywhere. This is the same couple you might remember or recall if you've ever seen the Lovers card from this deck. Same lovers, but a different background, a little darker, a little more foreboding, obviously, because the devil is there. The devil is reaching up and the devil is reaching down with fire in its hand. So what are we supposed to take from this? So there's a few things to unpack here. One of the most important that I feel like is in most devil cards is this connection to the chains binding them. Right? So think about that for a second. Chains that bind us, chains that hold us. And let me remind you, Saturn is the planetary ruler of Capricorn. The three buckets that I said for Saturn in my last video were completion, structures, container. It's about the finite, right? The finite in which we can create the world that we want, make things that are impossible possible, but within the realm of reality. We are tied to certain aspects of reality. We cannot overcome gravity. That's a reality. We cannot drive down a highway at full speed without fear of consequences, right? There are realistic things that we have to tie ourselves to a certain level of reality. But the devil asks us, is everything that we think is real, real? It might not be. We might be chained to concepts that are not actually fulfilling our soul's purpose. So what can this mean for Capricorn? So before I can get into exactly the tie to Capricorn, something I wanted to mention in my last video that is very important is when we are going through shifts of Saturn, we're talking about changing our structures around identity, purpose, views, who we associate with. We're seeing this structural shift within our life because Saturn is that. So if in the structures of our life, we are being tied to this idea of Capricorn, then we're kind of doubling down on the idea of purpose, right? Because Capricorn is very much tied to the 10th house, this idea of work, what we do in this world. So as a sign tied to this card, there's this understanding of where the limits are, but there's also this reclamation of our souls. We have to reclaim our power. Saturn, Capricorn, it's about being given an invitation to contract so that we can expand. And I say that with the pause to kind of say it and sit with it myself. Because as we know, Capricorn is all about the foundations. It's the most evolved of the earth signs. It's cardinal earth. It's indicating this reclamation of, like, regardless of how difficult it might be, we are here with purpose. And our purpose is not necessarily to be chained, but how do we use the resources around us to empower us? Let's dive into another, shall we? The wild unknown. Once again, we see the devil's symbol of a goat. We see the horns. We see the hooves that are covered in fire. This to me is like very classic concept of devil. But there's more to it. This animal is not restrained. It might be in pain because its hooves are on fire. But this animal is not restrained. And we can see that the fire at its feet are almost illuminating the darkness that it's in. So leaning into our awareness can lean us into our purpose. When we are aware of the pain that something is causing us, when we're aware of the discomfort, when we're aware of the contraction, we can use that as a tool to navigate our world. It doesn't always have to be painful. Like I said, pain is a spectrum. It can be a pinch, a tug, or it can be a stab. It's up to us as far as how deep we go with that pain and how far we have to go to learn the lesson, right? Because for some of us, the lessons are deep. Sometimes discomfort becomes comfortable. And Capricorn sometimes leans into that discomfort. I say as a Capricorn. But it's not about suffering. It's about leaning into our awareness so that we can become who we really are. Leaning into a realistic sense of reality, but also looking and being incredibly scrupulous of the structures. Are we able to sustain change? Or do we have to take a radical shift? Because like I said, this sign specifically, as we're moving from Capricorn into Aquarius, it is really about changing our structures around identity and purpose to open us to receiving. So, last card to dive into this. This is the 8th House Tarot. And we see this theme again of being tied, this almost pain, and this watching, this observant figure that is the devil. We see a consistent theme, and each one of these is like this pain aspect, but then also the horns, this connection to this fiendish identity, right? But I think for Capricorn, the lesson from this sign is, where are we tied and why can't we let go? The truth is we can. But Capricorn, especially in Saturn, is showing us where our faults are as far as our mental patterns. It's about looking at those structures, the container that we are, and how we take care of it in the structures that we're in. And we can understand why the limit exists. But it's also about mastering our resources at hand. So how can we turn this that ties us, that binds us, that feels like it's limiting us, and use it as a tool for our freedom, for reclamation, for leaning into awareness, for big contraction. Because I know so many of us are aware that structures are not working. Some of us are more passive about the structures that don't work. Some of us are more active about the structures that do not work. But at the forefront of it all, it's about observing those structures and deciding how we reform, right? How do we rebuild? We have to rebuild with something. And the truth is we can do it with the resources that are already there. We can make those chains that had us tied, we can put them to different use. So when it comes to Capricorn, Capricorn is about observing and understanding the world. It's about understanding why the limits exist, because they do. Because ultimately the limits, this restriction that we might feel repressed by, is our teacher. And that can be really hard to realize and make sense with. But that's a big thing for what we're going through as people, as evolving individuals. It's not just about where we can and can't do something. It's an invitation to share with us where we can make change. But also, because it's also, where is your resistance? This card can be a big indicator of where are we resisting, or at least asking us, hey ho, why are you doing that again? Why are you talking to certain people again? Why are you talking to yourself like that again? Why are you believing this again? Why are you in this job again? It can manifest in so many different ways. But ultimately, it reminds us of what our structures that limit us are about, what they're here to teach us, but also why we don't need them, right? So that's my main takeaways. And like I said, the three main focuses of any card when we're looking at, or any sign, when we're looking at Saturn, is completion. What are we completing? What's the cycle that doesn't have to fucking go on anymore? What box can you close up and say, I've had enough? As a society, we've had enough. We've had enough of people being ignorant to others. And I feel like that is the change that we are coming into. We can't be ignorant anymore. We have to talk to each other. We have to inform each other. We have to understand why each other feels the way we do. Because ultimately, a big lesson when it comes to Capricorn is the structures are not just societal. They're mental. These structures are how we feel limited. They are how we see others in a limited way. Where are we tied and why can't we let go? Are we scared of having our foundation shook? Are we scared that the limits that we thought were there are actually closer in than we thought before? And are we afraid to embody our wounds in a way that empowers us rather than weakens us? I don't know. Things to think about. But with that said, that is my spiel on Saturn and Capricorn. As I said, we are moving right out of Capricorn and into Aquarius. The next video will be diving into what that means. I'm really excited, where we come from this big space of contraction and pain and realizing that certain things don't work. Bless me. That certain ideologies must shift, that we must open, because with this contraction, we're seeing how we limit ourselves. And I say that not only for myself, but so many people that I've talked to. This idea of limitations is a teacher. The limit exists for a reason, because we have to manifest within a physical world. But that doesn't mean we're limited, because our capacity for understanding, our capacity for empathy, our capacity for love and vulnerability is so much more deeper than our capacity for pain, fear, and restriction. So, with that said, that's going to be it for Capricorn. Please let me know if you are interested in looking at any of these other transits through the tarot, such as Jupiter, Pluto, all the goodies out there in the universe. Let me know with a comment down below, and have a beautiful day. Bye-bye.